Hello everyone, this is Akira, this is Megumi, and we're doing another special online noodle class today. And today's class is for those who have been like kind of making their own noodles or like probably if you have like made any noodles, it's gonna like but you're kind of curious about like okay how the noodles are gonna get can get curled or like turn into like baby noodles. This is a class for you. So like we're talking about how to make and how to master making curly noodles or baby noodles some people call it. And so we're doing that. And yeah, so we're going to like kind of details of like how you can make curly noodles and like so it's gonna be like kind of technical, then kind of like really hands-on kind of like workshop, and then Migmi is gonna make some curly noodles, get different types, different sizes. So and then but first, right, I'm gonna talk about a bit about like what's important like when we making curry noodles. So this whiteboard. So let's get started. And so when we're making curry noodles, like we want to ask these kind of questions, like three questions to ask when we are making curly noodles. So so it's like every time like we get asked by our customers, like okay, I want to make curry noodles, but like how can we do it? And so the question that I ask them is that like so okay, how curly do we want right them to be? And what's the hydration of the noodles? So, and protein content of the dough or like the flour you use to make this dough, right? Or noodles. And what's your noodle size? Like noodle size being like thickness and width. And so these last two questions kind of determine the hardness of noodles, like noodle hardness. So that has to do with because the harder the noodles, like the stronger the power that's needed to like call your noodles. So basically, the harder, which means that like it's the thicker and noodle texture like harder, the more power, like the stronger the power you need to like curl your noodles. And it comes to like, oh, how curly do you want them to be? And of course, like we can make curly noodles like as curly or maybe as instant noodles, like cup noodles. Um, but like some people like prefer making them like kind of lightly curled. So it's always like when you're making curly noodles, like it's we make like straight noodles and then like we make them curly, right? And we use this kind of cutter, right? And it's gonna get technical from here. And we're gonna use this kind of cutter. And then like this is like kind of, well, we are kind of seeing this is like from the side, like sideways, like kind of cross section of the cutter, right? And so just like pretend that like this is a dough sheet going into the cutter. And then this cutter like has this the grooves, right? Grooves, and then each groove like makes the noodle strong, right? And then when the dough sheet is going through this cutter, it gets shredded, like a slit into noodle strands, like kind of going past the grooves, right? And then gets into turns into like noodle strands, but like and then so if you're making straight noodles, like just just gonna come out straight, right? But like if you're making curry noodles, then we use this kind of parts, right? And these parts, like these are basically silicone plates, right? This part right here, like silicone plates, right? And then so we're kind of sandwiching like the noodles between these silicone plates. This is like two pieces of silicone plates that are kind of attached in the back of the cutter, right? And then so that kind of keeping the noodles from like coming out. So noodles that kind of get stuck in there, and then there's another batch of like noodles come to this space, and well, so the old batch like kind of gets pushed out, right, and then like gets well curled in that process. But like, and then depending on the strength, like resistance or like strength of this the silicone plates, well, if it's thicker or like thinner, or like how they're positioned in the back of the cutter, the noodles come out like really curled, or like real lightly curled, and then so so it depends on the silicone plates, like thickness of the silicone plates, and then where these pieces of the silicone plates, like that's a pair, right? Two pieces of silicone plates are placed and positioned in the back of cutter, right? So we're gonna show you guys like how these silicone plates are placed in the back of cutter later, but so this is basically how it works, right? The the harder your noodles, right? Like if your noodles are thicker, wider, then you need more strength here, like in the cutter, like to keep the noodles from coming out. And so this is basically like how it works like in a ramen machine, and like we can also make curry noodles by using udon machine as well. But like we're not gonna cover that like in this class, but like we can refer you guys to like the other video like we did like in the other class we did previously, and the tips, right? And then obviously like we are making curly noodles, right? And then so these noodles like batches of like noodles like kind of smashed together, and then um, basically sort of kind of pressured together. So the tips or like what's necessary like when we're making curry noodles is that like you need to dust noodles well. Otherwise noodles is like kind of smashed together and like become that stuck together, right? We don't want that to happen, right, to noodles. So we need to dust noodles well before we are making them curl, right? And so again, like positioning with the plates and parts. This like kind of sounds kind of subtle, but like it's very important. We're gonna show you guys the parts and plates in a minute. And then we had a question. Some people asking like, okay, so we're making curry noodles, right? Like noodles are coming out in like not really so like portioned. So we can't clearly see like okay where it ends, right? Where like one portion ends, because like they're kind of coming out like kind of continuously like out of the cutter. So it's kind of hard to like kind of portion the curled noodles in practice, right? So it may be um, maybe like important if you want to keep the same length, right? Maybe good to pre-measure the noodle length or like in serving size with the straight noodles, right? Before we make them curly. So you just get like one serving of like straight noodles on the same size, and then like just kind of um, yeah set the length, right? And then set the serving size, and then you know attach this the parts, right? And then make them curly, and so you get that kind of same length like for the each of the noodle servings you make, right? That's kind of yeah. But I'm gonna explain like so we're gonna show how you going to like portion the curled noodles later. Like when we actually make them into curly noodles. So okay, so let's start making some curly noodles, and we're going to use like our most advanced noodle machine. It's Richmond Gold 2 to make our curly noodles, and usually like we show how we make the curry noodles like from scratch, right? Like from mixing process, but like because this is like I don't well the class on like how to make curry noodles, so we skip the mixing part, and then so maybe we made this dough in advance, right? The mixer. So this is it's like 4 kilo batch. So 4 kilo means the flour, right? So the ingredients is a 4 kilo, and obviously this is a ramen noodle dough. So the protein content is 11 to 12%. So like it's kind of hard dough, right? Hard flour. But hydration, we want it to be like kind of high because like if it's too low, then the when we make them curly noodle, like they break, right? So we want to have hydration relatively high, um, Yeah, we want them like depending on the flour you use, like protein content flour you use, you want it to be over say like 32% at least. And also like it depends on the noodle size you're making. If it's thicker, then they tend to break right when we make them curly. And if the hydration is like low. Okay, so we are going like the machine is like feeding dough into the roller and making the sheet of dough, right? So we start from the roller gap, like we start from 1.5 millimeter. And so this machine, like you can see, on this just touch panel control, almost like everything, like what everything that's going on in this machine. And so it's now feeding the dough, right? And then like making the sheet of dough right now, and then like so it's automatic, right? On other machine, like you have to manually feed the dough into the roller by hand, but like this machine, like, it's automatic. So all you have to do is just like place the dough in the hopper, and then well, you just have to like kind of the beginning of the dough sheet, like you just have to like um, yeah, wind it in the rolling pin, and then the rest is automatic, right? So yeah, so this machine is popular among businesses that that are like having hard time like to find skilled labor. Like nowadays, like it's kind of getting harder and hard for especially like food industry to find skilled labor, skilled workers. So this machine is great for yeah, that kind of situation, like where again it's really hard, like it's getting harder and harder like for you to like find skilled workers, so that well this machine can like allow anyone to make quality noodles, right? So yeah, and then at this point, right, at this process, like we're just kind of going slow, because we want to apply like really good pressure to make this dough sheet. Okay, and so that was like 1.5 millimeter roller gap, right? And so just made a sheet of dough, right? And then, but this dough is like still very fragile, like weak, right? So we want to make it strong, like firm, right? To do that, right, we want to separate it into two sheets and combine them into one through the roller. So we're gonna pass it through the rollers, right, and then make it into one sheet. So two separate sheets are going into the roller, right, and then so the machine is sheeting automatically, and then the roll gap is about like 2.1 millimeter, like, and then it actually adjusts the like roller speed, automatically, and it kind of goes faster, like when it's necessary, and then so it's very, I mean, you don't really have to like worry about like anything. You just let the machine do the job, and then you know you're end up like making really good noodles. And so this is right now like we're doing like roller process, the sheeting process, right? And so the dough, we are kind of like working the dough right now, like by combining two separate sheets together, right, into one. Working the dough, so like it's kind of like working muscle, you know, making tougher and tougher, and so that like we're making like some like ideal noodle texture in this process. So it's it gets like translated into like firmness, like chewiness, like you know the hardness of the noodles texture. So this process is very important, like making like quality noodles. So as you maybe like notice that like noodle dough surface like smoother, like cleaner, right, than before. And so we usually do this process like combining twice, one to twice, right, one to two times, like just to make sure that we have the ideal noodle texture, right? So the same thing, like just kind of separating the into two separate sheets, right? And then so from this point on, what making me did was like maybe turn on the automatic duster. And then, so this duster is like set on the back of the car machine, right? And then, you know, it's only dusting. And by doing that, right, the dough that's going to combine, right, gets dusted. Because from this point on, like, we don't want that dough to stick together, right? So at the same time, like, you still gets combined, the outside of the dough, right, gets dusted. And so this is a very important process. Like, you know, as we talked about, like, you know, dusting, you know, we have to like, we need to dust the noodles well, right? For curly noodles. Otherwise, like the noodles get stuck together and then like, you know, that's really bad. So we want to dust the dough, you know, from this point on, very well. And usually curry noodles are kind of high, like tend to be high in hydration, which means that like it's it's wetter, right? Um, it has like more you know moisture and it's more water, right? So like tends to stick together. So dusting needs to be done like really well. Um, I'm sorry. Right. So after this combining process, and we'll just start thinning, to the final thickness of the noodle size that we're aiming at, right? And then we're gonna cut like so we can make like different sizes, like you know, from the same dough, just to sort of like show like well how like Coley you know, what kind of parts like we need to use, right, to make them Coley at the different noodle sizes. So so now we are thinning the dough sheet at like 2 millimeter. Yeah, so from this point on, like we can go faster, and we just because like we just thinning it, we're not working the dough, so just wanna thin it, right, thin to the final thickness, so we can go faster, right? This sheeting process. Okay, right. Oh, sorry. Okay, so this dough sheet, right? It's going to a roll gap of like 2 millimeter, and but we want to check the measurement of the actual thickness, see if there's a discrepancy between the actual thickness. Yeah, so that's 2.5, right? Like after it's going to like 2.0. So the dough, just expanded like by 0.5, right? So that's the sort of like bounce back like ratio, like difference between the actual thickness and the roller gap. And yeah, so we're going to cut, right? We're going to cut, and but we're going cutting at like different thickness. So we'll just like separate dough, right? Different little sizes, different cutters. So yeah, so we're gonna do like three different sizes, right? So it's important to wrap up the dough, right, while it's waiting for its turn, right? Because otherwise the dough gets dry like really fast, like you lose moisture when exposed to the air. So yeah, it's very important to wrap it up, right? And then this is like how this is also like how we do the resting process as well. Like that's the second resting process. So just make sure that like it's completely wrapped up, right? And then like try to like to get rid of like air, like as much air as possible, right? So that the dough doesn't lose moisture over time. Okay. So we'll cut this one, and we'll cut a 1.5 millimeter like roller gap, and so we expect the this dough to bounce back by like zero point 0.5 or zero point 0.4 something. Um, So, like the thickness like we are aiming at is like 1.9, 2.0 millimeter. And so we'll use this kind of cutter, right? And then like we put that the plates in the back, right? Yeah, like that. And so there's clearance between like these two plates, right? So that's where the noodle's coming out. And then, in the process, like the noodle gets curled, right? Okay, so let's start cutting and so what's great about this machine is that like the where you can catch noodles coming out, it's kind of really, really high from the floor, right? So like you can just have this kind of chair and like sit on it and then like catch noodles. And so like if you're cutting like with like in 200 portions or something like in a row, and then you have to sit there like for I don't know like 15 minutes, like so the noodles just keep coming out, right? And then so in the awkward posture, right? So like you hurt your back or something, and then that's it's not good, right? And then at the same time, um, the if you place this machine like in a place where your customers can see, and it's kind of great entertainment for our customers to see like how the noodles coming out, like just the noodles they're gonna eat, right, are just being made like in front of them, right? So that's kind of good kind of presentation that you can have like in your noodle shop, like or a micro noodle factory. So okay, so the noodle is going, like the dough sheet is going to the cutter, right? And then so now right now it's like getting curled, right? The noodle is getting curled in there and coming out, right? So that's how curled this is, right? And then so the silicone plates that we are using on this cutter, like 3 millimeter, right? 3 millimeter is like kind of thick, right? It's very thick, right? So if you're making like, well, kind of thick noodles like this, then and then you may want to like use the thicker like silicone plates, like 3 millimeter, right? And yeah, and I think these are kind of great, gonna be like great noodles for like, sort of like dipping noodles or like um, maybe like kind of thick kind of miso ramen noodles or something. And so like we got about yeah kind of like 10 portions like in this, but like one portion is like really big. This one, so yeah, so that's one kind of thicker version of like curl noodles, a thicker version. All right, so let's do thinner version, right? And then again, like we have the parts like in the back of the counter, right? And then this is how much the space, right, between these two silicone plates. Okay, so that's number 22, about 1.4 millimeter. Oh, right. Oh, okay. Right, so like we set that little gap to 1.0 millimeter, and again, like we expect that dough to bounce back by zero point 0.4, zero point 0.5. So the target thickness like we are aiming at is like about 1.4, 1.5 millimeter. And so we're going to use that dough, right? So the dough sheet is going to the cutter, right? And then the noodles are coming out. The noodles are just getting curled, right now. There, right? And it's coming out. It's like thin noodle and like kind of lightly curled. Yeah, and then is- we're so we're making like different size of noodles, different size noodles, from the same dough, right? But like when we change the noodle size, right, and then like you try them, right, and then the noodles texture is like totally different. They're totally different. So even though it's from the same dough, right? So you want to try that, see like well, just kind of making different size noodles, right, from the same dough. See if how they change, how the noodle texture changes, right? And so the last one we want to do, right, is another way to actually make noodles curly. So again, like we're gonna do different size. So this one is like a little bit thicker than, well, a little bit wider than the one we did just now. Use like number 18, right? That's number 18, like, but no attachment on the back, right? Number 18, like, it's like 1.6, 1.7 millimeter, and relatively thicker than the one we did before, right? And so we're basically making straight noodles, right? Straight noodles. This one, but we're gonna make them curly. Okay. Yeah, so for this one, right, she's making me set that roll gap to 1.3 millimeter, and expect that dough to bounce back like zero point 0.5 or so. It's like we're aiming at like 1.8 ish, and so we're cutting noodles are coming out, and that will be our straight, right? The straight noodles. So we're getting about like 10 servings from the batch, right? All right, so we got um, 10 straight noodles, like 10 portions of straight noodles, and then so we're gonna curl them, right? And then how we do that is that like we are going to curl them by hand. Right? So maybe dust it them well, right? And then like kind of like rubbing them, like kind of squeezing them, right? And then so by making them curl like that, or kind of kind of making them curl like in kind of randomly. So like um, kind of use kind of unique texture, right? So certain parts like they're curled like heavier, right? And then like the other part like kind of curled like lighter. And so like it gives you kind of unique texture, like kind of randomness with like curled noodles, and then you know other parts like really curled. So it's kind of fun to kind of bite in, and then so some ramen shops actually they curl the noodles to order, right? So like when you order, like place an order, like the guy just call the noodles for you or something. And yeah, so it's curled to order system kind of. um, and then some people prefer it like so, like hand curled noodles are kind of um, perceived like kind of high value too. And then yeah, some ramen shops like really do it like by hand, like to order, right? And the customers can see like their noodles are being curled from them, right? So it's another way to make your noodles curly. And um, so yeah, that's how it's done. And so okay. So this is like two different yeah curled noodles, right? And then what I want to show, right, like in the last is that like so how you can sort of like adjust the how you can adjust the parts. Like it's kind of technical, but like for those of you like who are been doing this like for quite some time, like you see like so it's like so that space, right, space between like these two pieces of like silicon plates. So this is like how strong the resistance you can make, right? So if you the closest gap, right, and then like the noodles get like more resistance, right? And then so from coming out, like so you can make them curlier, right? But then you just make the space like wider, then like they get lighter. And then the other thing you can do is that like look at these parts, right? Like these parts, like metal parts, right? And then if you kind of move the parts like forward, right? Like towards the exit, towards the exit, and then so with these parts like being like closer to the edge of the silicon plates, it gets more stronger, right? This yeah, resistance like can just stretch like it's stronger, so the noodle get curlier, right? So that's how sort of like you can adjust the positioning of like these parts to like make them curlier, like make them like lighter curl, right? Yeah, and then some it's kind of getting too technical, but like if you experience like kind of having like noodles like kind of coming out like kind of getting stuck right in the inside the cutter, you may have like kind of better results like by kind of cutting the corner, right? Just corner, right? Making cuts in the corner, right? And then so the noodle like get come out like kind of easier, right? So that like there's less noodle like that are stuck in there. So yeah, that's the kind of tip yeah I can give like for making curly noodles. And so yeah, the curry noodles are awesome, right? They give you like kind of unique texture and everything, and then kind of well, people look at curry noodles and like they get kind of excited, like So I mean, they look yeah, just awesome, right? And so then there are other ways you can make curry noodles, but like when I'm covering this class, but like you can use like other equipment to make them curly. And yeah, so depending on the kind of curliness you want, right? And then again, like noodle size, right? Basically the noodle hardness, the noodle yeah hardness, right? Um, you kind of choose like okay what kind of plates you're gonna use, and then what kind of um, Yeah, like, or no, we're gonna like hand curled or something, right? Where you like we're gonna call it the machine, right? So it depends on that, right? Kind of curliness you want. So and then the noodle hardness, like noodle size, the hydration, and so on, right? So yeah, so that's what we had for this class, and but for those of you who are having like some trouble like making curry noodles or something, or kind of machine trouble, or like trouble with the like probably recipe, like how you make them in the process. Just let us know. Like, it will be more than happy to answer your questions, solve your problems. So please let us know, right? And I hope to see you guys back in the next class. So thank you so much. Bye bye.